Hey, good morning, YouTube. How the heck are you guys? I hope everyone's doing well. I know it has definitely been a minute to say the least. So it's been a while. I am excited to be back sharing the newest vlog for you guys. So in this one, it is a really fun session. You guys got to check it out throughout the entire vlog. Make sure you stay till the end because there's some really interesting hands that I either misplay or play correctly. You'll have to wait and see, but it is definitely worth your time. All right, without further ado, let's just jump into it. I will see you guys at the end. So getting right into the session here, pretty early on, we're going to have a early position raise from a very aggressive player to $25. Now the action's going to fold over to me and we're going to look down at a premium here, Black Ace King offsuit. Now we will be 3 betting here, so I'm going to decide on a size of $75. We're going to go ahead and go 3x here. Now if this player does indeed decide to call, I'm only going to have a little bit more than a pot size bet left, so it should be pretty easy to manipulate the pot and to get my stack in by the river if the board comes favorable. Action's going to fold back to the +1 player here. He's going to go ahead and check his cards one more time, and he obviously is going to like what he sees, and he's pretty quickly here going to come along and make the call. So heads up to a flop here with 150 in. We're going to see a very bad flop from my particular hand. That's going to come Jack 8-7 Rainbow. Now, I guess I definitely could have a hand like Pocket Jacks, but definitely overall a better board for him than me. I check back. We're going to see a blank on the turn, which is the deuce of clubs. Now I'm going to decide to check back again here in position. And now we're going to see the river, which is the ace of diamonds. This player once again is going to check it over to me once again. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure we had the best hand the whole way here, but now we know for sure we need to get some value because we obviously have the best hand. I'm guessing he has a hand like pocket sixes, maybe pocket nines, or even a hand like ace queen, or an even weaker ace. I decide on a half pot bet here, trying to get called by those hands. And to be honest, looking back at it, I probably should have went a little bit less, like maybe $40, just to get a crying call. So he's going to go ahead and ultimately make the fold here. So we're going to take down this medium-sized pot here, but definitely nice to get the session started in a very positive direction. As we move on to the next hand, in this one, I'm going to find myself in middle position here, and we're going to get in open to $10. The action's going to fold around to me, and I'm going to go ahead and raise it up here to $30. So what's going to wind up happening here is we're going to pick up 2 callers. Everybody else is going to decide to fold. I'm going to get a cold call here, and then the original raiser is going to decide to complete. So with $100 in the middle, we're going to see an average board for my hand. That's going to come 5-4 deuce rainbow. Now, I do have 2 overs and a 3 possibly for a straight. Action checks around, and then boom. Look what I see. Nice little 3 there on the turn. So we now make our straight, and now the original raiser is going to lead into us for 20. I decide just to make the call, hopefully allowing the player behind me to overcall, but he quickly ejects here. And now this player is going to quickly check, which is basically a give up or a mediocre hand. I decide to value bet for 50, and he just instantly folds. So moving on to hand number 3. In this one, we're under the gun, and we're going to look down at ace king once again. I know what you're thinking. It has definitely been the ace king show. This time it's in the black variety. I'm going to open to 15, and the splashy player next to me is going to quickly call. Action's going to fold around to the button, who's now going to jam. So he's going to jam for about $90 here, and he has been very, very tight. So this is obviously not an amazing situation for us here, but at the same time, it is only $75 more. So when the action gets back to me, I do not think I should be folding here. It is very exploitable. And I also don't think calling is just a good play either, and allowing the player to my left to come along. So I think the only real play here is to move all in, and that's what I do. So as we head to a run out here, you're going to see the board come out. not in our favor. We are going to brick everything with just ace high. This player is going to flip over pocket jacks and he's going to take this one down. So unfortunately, we're going to be doubling up the button here, which is not great for us. We are going to be giving back some of our profit that we made early on. I say nice hand, and he kind of chuckles, as you can see, and says, hey, thanks for paying for my lunch. Kind of being a jerk. I kind of just laugh it off, even though on the inside, what I'm really thinking is you. So moving along in the session, as we go to this next hand, I now move seats and I'm in the big blind. We're going to get it open to 15 from under the gun player, who's been very snug. Then there's going to be two calls. I'm getting a price here in the big blind, so I'm going to complete. So with about 60 in, we're going to drill this flop here. That comes 5-3 deuce, 2 spades. Now, I know it's kind of weird, but I briefly think about possibly leading here into the field, but it's probably very weird and a little odd and non-standard to say the least. But thinking about the original Razor's range and what I should probably do about it, he's most likely going to have a lot of overpairs, big flush draws, and he is not going to want to fold to a check raise. Plus, we can build the pot when we have a very strong hand and also get money in before we see a bad turn that could kill the action. And now thinking about the +1 player betting here, he can have literally anything, a flush draw, a pair, and he has shown all session he does not want to fold. So even more so that I think the check raise is the best play to do here. And that's what I elect to do. And as you can see, these players pretty much just snap fold, and we're going to take this one down. So moving on to this next one, in this one we're on the button here. We're going to have an under the gun fold, and then it's just going to become a limp fest. We're going to get 3 people that are just going to limp. Action folds to me, and you know we're going to be putting in the raise here with the 2 ladies, so I make it $25. And then something very interesting happens. The limpers as well as the blinds are going to come along here. It is obviously not ideal going 5 ways to a flop here with an overpair, but let's see if we can protect the ladies and they can navigate this minefield. The flop's going to come 8-5-4, 2 clubs, all black. Now the good news is I do have the queen of clubs in my hand. Action's going to check over to the +1 player here. Only has a little bit more than $100 in his stack. He's going to rip it here. I believe the total was about $106 or so. Now the action's going to go over to the low jack and he starts to go into the tank. So now I'm really hoping that the low jack here just decides to fold. The queens are going to fare way better heads up here than multi-way, especially with all the draws and all the different hands that I would be against in that type of situation. But ultimately, after a very long tank, the low jack is going to decide to just make the call. And now he's only going to leave himself less than $100 in his stack. So now in game, I was a little bit confused on what to make of this. It didn't feel particularly strong. Kind of felt like maybe it was a hand like King Jack of clubs, and he was trying to see if maybe he can get there without putting all the rest of the money in. The truth of the matter is the queens are just not doing amazing here. The only time that they're in decent shape is if, let's say, one of the players has a hand like pocket nines, pocket tens, jacks, and the other player just has a ace high flush draw with no pair, then I'm about 50%. But other than that, all the other scenarios, I'm really not in great shape. So I kind of feel like this should almost be a fold here. And as you can see, I actually rip it in all in game. But looking back at it, I think the only people that would call me behind me is obviously if they flopped a set or something like that. So I'm pretty much just burning money. So I think if I was going to continue on here, I should just call and see what develops. That way, if the players behind me happen to jam or raise, now I can safely fold and protect my stack. Luckily for me, the 2 players behind me are going to quickly fold, and then the action goes back to the low jack who's going to put his remaining stack in. So now we're going to head to a run out. The turn's going to come the 6 of spades, and the river's going to come the very bad king of clubs. So now I feel like I'm dead for sure. And to my surprise, the low jack is going to flip over an 8 and then muck, and the +1 player is going to roll over pocket fours. So unfortunately for us, we're going to lose a pretty big pot here, and we're going to have to try to get back on track and shrug this one off as we keep moving on in the session. I feel my yeah, I feel my So now this next hand, I guess you can file it under interesting to say the least. Here's what I mean. The action is going to start off with 2 folds, and then it goes over to the low jack, who's going to decide to limp. Action folds to us in the cutoff, and I'm going to look down at 9-8 of diamonds. So I think it's a pretty clear raise here with the 9-8 suited. It's a hand that flops extremely well and covers many board textures. So the action is going to go 3 ways here with the big blind and the low jack. The flop's going to come 8-8 deuce rainbow, so we obviously hit trips, which is amazing on this board, and it's very disguised. The action is going to check to me, and I decide to play this one a little tricky and check back. Now we see the turn, which is the interesting 10 of hearts. And now the big blind is going to decide to lead out here for 20, and the low jack's going to get out of the way. And obviously with our trips, we decide to just smooth call here. I think there's definitely merit for putting in the raise there on the turn to really charge those backdoor flush draws and possibly straight draws, especially with this type of player who's played draws very heavily all day. But in this instance, I just decided to call and let some of those bluffs still stay in when he's drawing very, very thin. And now we see a very spicy river, which is the Jack of Hearts. And now this player is going to bet into us for $45. Now listen, I know what you're thinking. Justin, why are you raising the river here now that the straight draws got there and the flush draws? So in game, I've repeatedly seen this player call big raises on the river with 1 pair holdings over and over. I literally saw it around 4 times the entire session. So what that tells me is against this player type, in game, I was thinking that this play was going to be plus EV over the long run. So that's why I decided to put in the raise. As well, I played it pretty passively on the flop and on the turn. My hand was massively under revved throughout the entire hand. He was drawing extremely thin on the turn and on the river, and I would literally take that scenario every day of the week. It just so happened that he got there this time. I'm challenging myself to find some thinner value spots, and occasionally I'm going to value own myself. So moving on to the very last notable hand of the session. In this one, we're in the cutoff, and we have ace 10 of diamonds. So there's going to be a bunch of limps, 3 exactly, and a couple folds. And the action gets over to me, and I'm going to be raising this up here, obviously. So I make it 23 to go. The small blind, the big blind, the +1 player, and the low jack are all going to make the call. So this is not what I was hoping for, but in the spirit of live poker, this is actually a very good game. So 5 ways we're going to head to a flop here with a little bit more than I would say around $120 in. So fingers crossed, we are hoping to spike really, really well here. And we're going to see a flop that comes out king, queen, 5, 2 clubs. So the action pretty quickly is going to check over to +1. He's going to cut out a bet. He decides on a size of $50. The low jack player is going to quickly get out of there. Now the action comes over to me. We are obviously not going to be going anywhere here in position, straight draws, backdoor flush draws, and I do have an over, which is most likely probably going to be good. The small blind and big blind are going to get out of the way. So heads up here, we're going to go to a turn, which is exactly what we were looking for, more equity as we see the four of diamonds. Now he decides to slow down and check it over to me. I check back, but I think looking back at it, I definitely should have put in a bet there on the turn. With all my equity, I definitely could have tried to move him off of maybe like a weak king, maybe even a queen, kind of something mediocre in the middle. Maybe like a hand like pocket nines, pocket sevens, something like that. And just for the sake of balance, I would most likely do that with all my value hands. Then I should also be doing that with some of my really good bluffs. But as you can see, I did not do that. And we're going to go to a river, which is the eight of clubs. So I picked up on his check. It seemed very disinterested. He seemed like he just wanted to get the showdown. Maybe he had like a weak one pair holding, or maybe even like a very weak top pair, maybe even a middle pair, something like that, and was just trying to get to showdown. But with ace high here, there's nothing really more I can do but bet. I kind of have to bet. It would be a disaster if I check and he rolls over a hand like ace jack or ace five, something like that, and we lose. So I think the best course of action here is to bet pretty chunky. I don't have to move all in, as the way I played it, I would probably take a smaller sizing just to try to get some value from his one pair holdings, because he seemed to be pretty capped here based on his turn and river play. So I decide on a river bluff here of $125. And as you're going to see here, he's pretty quickly going to just make the fold. So we might have been bluffing with the best hand all along, but who knows? But it was nice to get this one through to finish up the session. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I will see you guys in the outro. All right, let's go ahead and recap the session today. So, in the game for 300, only needed one bullet, which is amazing. Cashed out for $720 after about 6 hours of play. So, we will take it for sure. Definitely was some rust that I am excited to get off here over the next couple of videos. And yeah, very interesting session. Never got into a massive spot where I doubled, but just a lot of medium-sized pots to pretty big, and then just kind of chipping away slowly. And then just the trips 8 hand that I think I misplayed, in real time. I think I should have raised the turn there, even though I would have lost an even bigger pot on the river. But such as life, you know what they say about hindsight. So we will keep this thing moving. And I'm excited for you guys to see the upcoming things that are going to be coming out for the channel. So as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. If you're not already, subscribe, like the video, comment, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care. Peace.